Welcome to another edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up. During this program, we will highlight the agenda items presented to the Lakeville City Council at their October 17th, 2016 meeting. First highlighted item on the agenda is item number 5C, Envision Lakeville Update. And to begin a series of presentations, here's City Administrator Justin Miller.
I know the council is aware, but in 2012, the city embarked on a strategic planning process, and we called it Envision Lakeville. And it's been our intent over the past year or so to update you every 6 months on the status of the initiatives that are on that. And so tonight we are going to do that with a specific focus on economic development, which we'll get into in a little bit. But briefly, the Envision Lakeville report did set forth a vision for the community. It articulated a set of values, established strategic priorities, and provided a list of key initiatives to make that vision a reality. And it did produce a vision statement, and I won't read that, you'll see it there, but I think everything that is in there we are doing, and that is the point of tonight, to update you on one aspect of that. I think it was appropriate. We just celebrated something I think is a community value, which is safety throughout the community with our fire department. And like I said, tonight though, we're going to focus this presentation on diversified economic development, and I'll tell you a little bit about why. Along with the values, this plan did also establish key initiatives, which also you'll see talks about increased economic sustainability. We did separate these into goals in the 1 to 5 year period, which, believe it or not, we're starting to reach the end of that already. So as we continue to look forward, we'll start to look at those 6 to 15 and 16 to 25 year goals as well. And as I mentioned, one of those goals was the increased economic sustainability. And within that, we wanted to emphasize the attraction of businesses that could provide higher skill, higher wage, head of household jobs, retain existing businesses and facilitate growth and expansion, provide a broad range of financial incentives to attract businesses that employ those higher skilled, high wage jobs, and also to support the aggressive transportation program that's in place to enhance our economic development opportunities. So last week, or it might have been 2 weeks ago now, the City Council did establish Manufacturers Week in the City of Lakeville, and our Community and Economic Development Director, Dave Olson, hosted a manufacturers reception. And at that reception, he provided some background on the manufacturing and economic development activity that was going on in the city. And we thought this would be a good chance to share that with the council and the public as well. So if you don't mind, I will turn it over to Dave Olson, and he'll take us through the rest of the presentation.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Evening, Council. Some of you may have seen this, so with that, I apologize in advance, but we've not included the entire presentation from the manufacturers event, but a good portion of it, and this was one of the primary slides. We had that when we were focusing on Manufacturers Week in Lakeville, as Justin alluded to. We now have over 150 businesses in our industrial parks, and it's more than one now. There's, besides the original Air Lake Industrial Park, we have First Park Lakeville, and what will be getting underway here fairly soon, we hope, is Interstate South Logistics Park. But over 3,100 jobs and $245 million in taxable market value in the industrial park, which generates over $8.5 million a year in taxes. And while it's not included in the presentation, if you haven't had the chance yet, I would strongly encourage you to see the video on the 50-year anniversary of Air Lake Industrial Park. We debuted that at the manufacturers event. It's on the city's website. It's about 5 minutes long. Communication staff put it together, and in particular recognition to Tim Klausler and the interviews and the folks that he sought out to talk to about that. But I think was well received at the manufacturers event. But again, it's been 50 years since Air Lake Industrial Park was initiated. We talked about and gave information on the commercial industrial building permit valuations. Most of this information was presented to you in early February when we did our 2015 annual report. And I believe at that council meeting I said, don't necessarily don't expect necessarily that we'll see over $45 million a year in commercial industrial development every year. Well, fortunately, this year it looks like we are, or actually we have already surpassed that through September. and we have 3 more months to go this year. And I know there's a couple big projects, one of which you'll be proving tonight that will increase that commercial industrial number even higher. So we're at 45,442,000 through the month of September. This was a slide that attempted to, and we identified both 2015 and 2016 projects that had the top valuations. They started with the 200,000 square foot expansion of BTD. Interstate Power Systems, if you've driven County Road 70 recently, that building's going up as we speak. FedEx Freight was just completed and occupied and is now operational for several months now, also along County Road 70. Kentlewood Suites Hotel had their ribbon cutting earlier this summer, and they're up and running. And from talking to the Dolan family, it's doing extremely well to start with, so that's good. I think some events like the Ryder Cup probably helped a little bit, but Simply Self-Storage is the remodel of a portion of the Train America building. Livewell, Lakeville Memory Care, it's a real visible project up there on I-35, County Road 46, that's under construction right now. PetSmart just got in the ground here in the last couple weeks. Alina Clinic was a 15 project and a few more along the way. But it's a real variety of types of commercial industrial development. There's retail, there's office, there's manufacturing, there's hospitality. So it's a real cross-section of different types of commercial industrial development we're seeing occurring in Lakeville for the last year or year and a half. Right after the completion of Envision Lakeville, the EDC went through its strategic planning process, and the council was involved in that process as well. But we had established some very tangible or specific target measures in the strategic plan for economic development, and I didn't include all of them, but I included a few of them in the presentation that we made at the manufacturers event. One of which was to, as Justin alluded to, also in Envision Lakeville, to create a higher number of high-skilled, high-wage jobs. And the goal that the EDC had set, the council approved in the 2014 to 2016 strategic plan, was a creation of at least 200 additional jobs with an average salary of $60,000 or higher. We're pleased to report that over 300 jobs have been created with salaries in excess of $60,000 from companies like BTD and FedEx and Image Trend, Menasha, Mendel, and particularly Post-Consumer Brands. The strategic plan for economic development also placed an emphasis on not only bringing in new business, but facilitating the expansion of existing businesses. And the goal that was set that back in, actually at the end of 2013, about 3 years ago, was for an additional 500,000 square feet of existing building expansions, and that was exceeded earlier this year with 530,000 square feet. And then finally, again, along the line of business retention is the adding of additional 300 jobs at existing businesses. And we included the State Department of Employment and Economic Development numbers from 2014 to 2016, which showed 811 jobs being created during that 3-year period based on their quarterly census of employment and wages. So this is a chart that sees that you can see what the job growth in Lakeville has been, from about just 13,500 in 2009 to almost 16,800 in 2015. We're always about 2 quarters behind on these numbers, so we won't see 16 numbers yet for, I think we're probably through the first or second quarter of 16 so far this year. And this is a kind of a fun slide, and unfortunately we get to change it about every couple months, and you'll see projects on here that weren't on here previously. Again, one is Schneiderman's, which is getting final plat approval tonight. They'll be breaking ground shortly. Christian Brothers Automotive, Rainbow Child Care Center's under construction right now on Dodd. Interstate we talked about. PetSmart is a new one. So again, a real variety of new businesses coming into Lakeville. I don't know, Justin, if you want me just to wrap up these last couple slides, but this one shows the folks that were involved in the Envision Lakeville original task force. I won't list them all by name, but a number of names, and represents a real cross-section of the community that served under that. And the entire report is available on the city's website, And if anyone has any questions, either council or public, we can certainly answer those questions and contact the administrator's office at the number listed on the screen.
Next highlighted item on the agenda was item number 7, public hearing to consider the application of JAS Lakeville Properties LLC. And to provide the background information on this agenda item is Community and Economic Development Director Dave Olson.
This is a project the council has seen before. It is, we will point out, and we've had a couple projects come forward whereby we've had just because of timing, it just worked out better to have on easement vacations that can take place either at the public hearing can either take place at the Plan Commission or at the council. In this project, and I know there's been at least 1 or 2 others this year, that it's just worked out better to bring the easement forward with the final plat, easement vacation. So it is a public hearing on that. Except for that, this probably would have been a consent agenda item also. On the graphic and in your packet was a easement, and it's actually several easements in the same area that have been recorded over the years. And what we try and do in Lakeville is we try and get rid of old easements that are underlying, and those, Bart and Karen can remember from the Planning Commission days. It just cleans up things better, that you don't have, the title work for these properties don't show these old easements, and so we vacate them, and they're getting replaced. The easement that's shown along the front of the property that's being vacated is in fact being replaced with a new easement with a new Schneiderman's Furniture plat. So it's just basically removing the old easements and replacing it with new. This is the site plan that it's one lot and one block and one lot subdivision for this 112,000 square foot 2-story building that's going to be developed. This is the site plan. If you've driven by since preliminary plat approval, there's been grading and tree removal going on for several weeks out on the site, and so the project is moving ahead. And you've also probably seen in the news, it's been reported that there's a new business that is announced, or maybe hasn't, it's been made public in some circles anyway, but Total Hockey from downtown Lakeville is going to be going into part of the existing Schneiderman Furniture out there on Juniper, and so that is taking place. And I talked to Mr. Schneiderman earlier this afternoon, and they're going to be occupying a portion of the building here as soon as the end of this month. So project is proceeding. Everything that was required, the development contract is included in your packet, has been signed by Mr. Schneiderman. We have all of the necessary items and the final plat approval and the approval of the vacation of the easements, as well as, and I should point out also, there's a satisfaction of a special assessment and termination of a previous development contract. This property was previously an outlot in the Celebration Church plat originally, and there was an old development contract that still was associated with this outlot. Obviously, just like with the easements, we're replacing that old development contract with a new development contract. So release of the original Celebration Church development contract is part of the motion, as well as acknowledgement of the assessment that was previously on the property that's been satisfied. So everything is in order for approval. I'll stand for any questions.
Item number 7 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Next highlighted item on the agenda was item number 8, resolution approving feasibility report and calling public hearing for the 2017 Street Reconstruction project. And to provide the background information regarding this agenda item is Operation and Maintenance Engineer Monica Heil.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Anderson, members of the council. Tonight we are here to discuss the 2017 Street Reconstruction project, which spans quite a distance. It begins with the westerly border being Kenrick Avenue, just to the east of Interstate 35. The northerly border of the project is 165th Street. This is the north half of the project area, which is generally bounded on the east end by Jaguar Avenue. The southern portion of the project is bounded again by Kenrick Avenue. Well, here it's not showing on Kenrick Avenue. We're just behind Fleet Farm, just to the east of Fleet Farm in this area. To the south, we're bordered by 175th Street. And on the east end, there's a combination of Iselton and Exonia that draw the east border of the project. It is approximately 8.5 miles of streets that we are proposing to reconstruct in 2017, which is very similar to the mileage that was reconstructed in 2016. The estimated cost of the project is $10.928 million. Of that, approximately $5.9 million would be funded using general city tax dollars, capital improvement plan funds. $1.37 million would be funded using city utility funds. That would be a combination of both water and sanitary sewer funds. And special assessments would fund approximately $3.645 million of the project. And when we look at the scope of the project, we are again proposing some water main improvements, but only in a very specific area of the project. Recent water main breaks along 167th Street between Kenrick Avenue and 166th Street have been an ongoing maintenance issue for our city staff. We have investigated the soils types throughout the project area. They are all in fact corrosive to some extent. However, the only maintenance issues that we've experienced in the project area exist along 167th Street. We are doing some separate analysis of the Kenrick Avenue water main pipe. That was to be addressed as a separate project, but if you're familiar with some of the recent breaks that we've had in this area, they've all been along Kenrick Avenue. And so we are proposing to replace that portion of water main along 167th Street only as a part of this project. Elsewhere within the project, we are proposing to use corrosion protection. This is a method that we employed in the 2016 project as well as the Kensington Avenue Improvement Project, whereby we install some sacrificial anodes that will serve to extend the existing life of the existing iron water main pipe. Again, the soils within the project area are corrosive. However, we do not have any maintenance histories that would suggest that the entirety of the water distribution system needs to be replaced at this time, and so we are taking steps to extend the useful life of what does exist within the project area. Street improvements throughout the project will include street reconstruction. With that, we are proposing pavement reclamation throughout the project area, spot curb and gutter replacement, again, as a part of this project. Much of the concrete curb and gutter is still in good condition. However, there are areas that have settled and heaved due to trees and other settlement issues near structures such as catch basins and other underground utilities. And so we will be employing spot curb and gutter replacement within this portion of within this project, similar to what we did in 2016. And as always, we are looking to increase storm sewer capacities within portions of the project area and address any isolated drainage issues. And so storm sewer enhancements have been included in the scope of this project. When we look at some of the pavement conditions throughout the project area, what we note is a lot of alligator cracking, and that's what you see pictured above here. Alligator cracking does suggest there are issues with the subgrade beneath the roadway, and so as a part of the feasibility report, we have identified some subgrade correction before we completely reconstruct the street section. And we see varying levels of distresses such as this alligator cracking throughout the project area. Here you can see some of it's been disguised by chip seals that have been applied in the past, or other crack filling, or some areas there are large-scale patching methods that have been used to seal up some of these cracks. But it is an underlying issue with the pavement subgrade that will be corrected as a part of the project. Right here, I'm showing a picture of 167th Street at the east end towards Jaguar Avenue. There again, it's not as defined, but you could begin to see some of the pavement distresses and the alligator cracking showing up in this particular area. I mention this because we had a neighborhood meeting back in June where some of the residents questioned whether or not mill and overlay improvements were going to be sufficient or if a complete street reconstruct was going to be necessary. 167th Street in particular has pavement condition ratings of between 0.4 and 61.9, with this 61.9 being that section that you see right there. And so we know that if only a mill and overlay is employed with this particular project, that these cracks will reflect over time and you will see them come to the surface. Without completely reconstructing the aggregate base and the pavement section, this type of distress will continue to show itself until the streets are completely reconstructed. And for that reason, we are recommending reclamation of the roadway surface and aggregate base as a part of the project. Looking at the estimated assessments for the project, we are calculating them at just over $4,500. If you'll recall, the city funds 60% of the street and storm sewer improvements through use of general city tax dollars, and the benefiting property owners pay the other 40%. Those assessments are calculated on a per single-family unit basis, and for those that one commercial property and the, I believe, 3 public use properties within the project area, we calculate residential unit equivalents using this $4,500 estimate for single-family units, and then divide that into calculate how many units could be derived from each of these commercial or public use projects. We're here tonight presenting the feasibility report and also seeking the council's approval to set a public hearing date for the project. If that is scheduled, the public hearing would occur on November 21st of this year. After the public hearing, the council will have the option to consider ordering the preparation of plans and specifications. And if we choose to do that, those plans and specifications will be prepared over the winter months, and a bid opening will be scheduled for March 3rd of next year. The bid opening date is important because until that time, the assessment values are just estimates. We will not finalize the assessment amount until we receive bids for the project and we determine what the actual project costs will be. That bid opening will be on March 3rd, and at the March 20th City Council meeting, we will declare the costs and set an assessment hearing for the project. That assessment hearing would take place on April 17th, and the council would also have the option to award the contract for construction at that meeting. Should we move forward with the project, construction will begin as weather permits in either April or May of 2017 and continue through November of 2017. November of 2017 is when we'd also certify assessments for the project. Assessments for the 2017 project would become due with taxes payable in 2018. And with that, the council can move to accept the feasibility report and set the public hearing date for November 21st.
Item number 8 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Well, those were the highlighted items presented to the council at their October 17th, 2016 meeting. If you have any questions or comments regarding these agenda items, please feel free to call City Hall. The number is 952-985-4400. Thanks for watching this edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up.